Bonjour everyone and welcome to my channel, The Waves of Your Soul. Today's video is gonna be a good old tarot and oracle deck haul. You know I do them every trimester or so when I usually get a bunch of deck at once. If you don't know how it is, I live on a tropical island in the Indian Ocean, so shipping for the last couple of years has been delayed, which means that I'm getting decks that I've ordered in the last year, months, sometimes even 2 years, coming to me in batches. When the ships arrive, and it can be like once every 2 months for international shipping and stuff like that, I will usually get a few decks at once and I like to share them with you. It's fun to share why I bought something, why I decided to back something on Kickstarter. For the ones that I've already used, I'll tell you already my first impressions. You can tell me in the comments as well what you decided to buy and add to your collection or library, which decks you decided to declutter. We just get to exchange in the comments about all of that, and it's a lot of fun. Of course, if you get any kind of triggering by this type of content around sharing a lot of decks, this is not gonna be the video for you. You are totally free to exit it right now. No harm, no foul. Plenty of other videos on my channel that are not hauls, so if you want to check those out. And if it is your first time here, hello, my name is Marine. I'm a French tarot reader and a lover of everything tarot, oracle and self-empowerment related. I love tarot and oracle decks. I think it's gonna be pretty obvious today, in today's video anyway. I also really love posting tarot readings, pick a card readings, because this way I get to put my decks to good use and you get to see how they read as well. You get to see them in action. So if you'd like to see any of those things on your timeline, make sure to hit the subscribe button, join the tide. I would love to have you, but no pressure of course. And if you want to see more of me, I've got all of my socials in the description box, my Instagram, my TikTok. Now without further ado, let's get into my deck haul. I have tarot decks, I have oracle decks, I have indie, I have mass market, so strap in and let's get into it. Tarot del Dios de los Tres, and this was a gift from my friends for my birthday. It is a mass market Fournier deck. I've presented it in my Good Mood Decks video, which I will link somewhere here, which is a tag if you want to do it, where everyone gets to share the decks that makes them happy, the decks that put them in a good mood. There's been a ton of responses in the tarot community, people doing VR. It's so much fun. I'm so happy. So if you haven't checked that out, I highly suggest you do. And I've been using this deck all month of July after I received it, so it's definitely been already put to good use. These are the backs. And like I said, it's a mass market deck. It's from a Spanish company called Fournier. They do a lot of really cool mass market decks. Their decks are fairly affordable. They're easy to find. You can find them in your bookshops or Amazon or Book Depository. Oftentimes fairly affordable. So in this case, I've definitely used it. Like I said, my friends got it for me for my birthday, and I truly adore this deck. It's full of color, as you can see. It's more a pepish deck, so in that sense, what we call pep decks, you would normally only see 6 cups instead of the fully illustrated version that you might see in a deck inspired by the Rider-Waite-Smith, for example. We tend to call, as a community, if you are new to tarot, pep-ish decks that have, 6 cups for the 6 of cups, but they don't give you a full illustrated scene, but they still give you something like symbols or like in this case we have little animals or little mythological creatures, etc. So that's what I mean by being pepish. It's like 8 of cups, you see 8 cups, you don't get a full illustrated scene, but you still get something more than just a Tarot de Marseille type of 8 cups, just 8 cups. Here you go. Here you get, like I was saying, animals, symbols, colors. And so I find that for anyone who is wanting to go into the realm of pep decks but gets a bit bored by the Tarot de Marseille type decks, this would be a great option, especially of course if you like things that are a bit kooky, crazy, in your face, non-subtle, full of color. Because let's be real, this is very non-subtle, which I feel like it's probably why it connects so much with me, because I'm not a very subtle person at all. I feel like right now I'm filming this, we're in Leo season. This is a very Leo deck, even though there's a tiger on the back, but felines. This is a very Leo deck because it's full of color, it's passionate, it is in your face, and it gives me that Leo vibes for sure. And I'm a Leo rising, so I resonate with that very much. I mean, what more do you need? You have Ganesha, you have unicorns, there's like so much there. There's a lot of reference to different mythology. We have some reference to Japanese mythology, Hindu mythology, a lot of animals. I love this High Priestess, and overall this deck is a lot of fun. I'm so grateful for my friends for gifting it for me, and like I said, even though it's new to my collection, I've already used it all month of July. This is definitely not my first impression, like it's been put to good use. It also feels a bit like fireworks, so if you're in the mood for something very chilled, don't go to this one. It is not chilled. This is not chilled. This is when you want a boost of energy, you want to kick up your butt, you want something that's gonna be giving you the boost you need. This is one to go for. If you just want to drink a cup of tea and go to bed, this one this one is not necessarily the one I would go to personally for like chilling, because it's very full of fire and energy and all of that. Now let's move on to a funny story. 2 years ago, I put an order to an American crystal shop called Everyday Magic. They sell decks and they sell crystals. I put the order in May 2020 and my order arrived in May 2022. So this particular parcel, I think that's my biggest record. I've had parcels take ages since like, you know, the recent events. Since for the last 3 years I've had parcels take so long. I mean, things were taking ages anyway to send to a tropical island in the middle of the Indian Ocean, as you can imagine, but especially since COVID started, there's been so much more delays in shipping and everything, and this was my record. I think it took 2 years, but it arrived. And you know what? It arrived at the perfect timing, because it arrived for the full moon in Scorpio. And when I show you the deck, you're gonna understand why it was absolutely perfect timing. So who are we to say that a deck is late? Maybe a deck is not late. Maybe a deck just decides to arrive when it is needed and when it is time, which is what I've come to accept. Living in my situation right now, I have enough decks right now to keep me going and to keep me entertained and to keep me reading. And for the ones that I do order, if they take a year, they take a year. If they take 2 years, they take 2 years. Who am I to say that they're late, right? Everything happens in divine timing, not in my timing. A couple of crystals that actually came in that order were this particular quartz right here, which is got chlorite included in it, which is really beautiful. I think that's how you say it, chlorite, I don't know. And this, I had a couple of crystal skulls to come, like this one, which is fluorite, the crown chakra illuminated. It's like the way the stone was cut. You see this kind of like halo here on his skull, and I love that so much, because I use this particular crystal for when I need ideas, when I need inspiration, when I need to connect to my mental space, right? To my brain, when I need to like boost my brain cells, or to get inspiration from my guides, my higher self. This is a wonderful one. So I'm so happy it finally arrived. And the deck I had ordered to go with those crystals was Postcards from the Liminal Space, created by the owner of Everyday Magic shop, Bakra Whitner, I think that's how you say her name. So this is an oracle deck, and look, why did I say it was the perfect timing when it arrived on the full moon in Scorpio? Is because this deck is a Scorpio. This deck is totally a Scorpio. It's an oracle deck, and this is now out of print because by the time I ordered it and it was shipped and I received it, the deck had gone out of print. But I'm sharing it with you because, well, I'm being honest in telling you what has joined my collection. And they have released another oracle deck, very, very in the same line. It's like the part 2. This was part 1. The next one is part 2. I think the next one is called Visions from Space, or I don't know. I can't remember what it's called, but it's very similar. It's like in the same vibe, in the same color frame, in the same kind of artwork. So if you like this one, check out their shop. I'll try and remember to put it down below because you might like their new version. It comes with a little guidebook with like, you know, some sentences for each of the cards, and I'm pretty sure it's the same for their other one that they've released. And this is a very interesting oracle deck, in the sense that I think this is inspired by the Morgan's Tarot, which I love. If you don't know that particular deck, I also talk about it in my Good Mood decks, so you can check that out. You'll see it. It's not a tarot at all, it's an oracle deck that was created in the 70s that feels very similar. It's another black and white deck, and it's another oracle deck where it's very straight to the point, it's very cheeky, but this one is a little bit meaner. Not that there's anything wrong with that, it's just the kind of deck that will truly tell you what you need to hear regardless of your feelings. So this particular oracle deck, I love it. Look at this, you're not alone in this uncertain place. It is a joy, and I know their other one is also really cool, so that's why I'm feeling okay to present this out of print deck, because I know that their other one is very in the same vibe, same authors and creators, and the messages are very unique, I think, in terms of oracle deck. It's not your stereotypical freedom and love and tenderness, rerouting and things like that. It's a little bit more unique, like let it rain, let it rain, let it rain, which as a French person, honestly, I can't say any of those differently. Like, that sounds like the same to me. This deck is definitely a Scorpio because it can be truly very mean. So far, every time I've used it, it's dragged me through the dirt, and I've heard the same thing from a lot of other different people who have it. So I know I'm not the only one, and yet at the same time, it's wonderful because sometimes, oh, look at that, I love that. That is beautiful. I didn't plan that. I forgot that there was this card in there, actually. Yeah, I think sometimes you need that kind of deck that's gonna drag your ass. Sometimes you need a healing deck, and so that's why we have a lot of different ones, because different times requires different methods. I think I've not been using it every day because, like I said, it's an acquired taste. I don't want to get dragged every single day. I need to be in the specific mood for this. I can't wait to do tarot readings with this, so I'm not the only one who gets dragged. I'm joking, but no, this has been very helpful. It's just that I have to pick my moments with it, purely because if I'm already feeling flared up, like my chronic pain is already a lot, and I don't necessarily need to be bitch slapped, but if I'm going through something and I need clarity, this is wonderful. Let's talk about the deck that took 1 year to ship to me. So, you know, it's progress. The other one was 2 years, this one was just 1 year, so we're making huge progress here. We have the Orphic Tarot. This was a Kickstarter. It's called the Orphic Tarot. It's an indie deck. You can now buy it straight from the shop, from the artist, so I'll put, if I can remember, her Etsy shop or whatever shop she uses below. It comes with this really beautiful box and this little guidebook, which is good, but I think there's another bigger PDF that you can get. Like I said, this took 1 year to come to me, and honestly, by the time it arrived, I was over it. And so this is, for me right now, a little bit of a fail, because I've not managed to connect with this deck. And I don't even feel the want right now to work with it. But I'm gonna tell you why, and I'll get into it as to why I don't want to declutter it yet, because I've got a feeling that its time is coming. So here are the backs. So this is heavily inspired by Greek mythology, right? Orphic, linked to the myth of Orpheus. Every single card represents a different divinity from the Greek pantheon, a different muse or a different hero. And I love Greek mythology. I've loved Greek mythology since I was a child. I've said this on my channel before, but my childhood, I would read them before I go to bed, and then when I would be playing make-believe, as you do as a child, I would be pretending that I can, like, speak to Poseidon when I'm in the ocean, or I would ask Athena to help me do my homework. Like, as a child, I was very much living my Greek mythology fantasy. And so, of course, when I saw this deck was being created, plus I find the artwork really like something, it comes to your gut, right? This artwork, it brings a lot of emotion. I think you can't see this and ignore that it's stirring something, whether you love it or you hate it. It doesn't leave you feeling nothing. That's also why I wanted to back this deck. Finally received it 1 year later, and it was like crickets for me. I think I'm really struggling to bond with this deck. I flicked through it a couple of times, I put it back in the box, and I haven't felt the want to look at it again. Mostly my big trouble is struggling to recognize who is what in the cards, because as you can see, the name of the cards are not written. We only have the name of the divinity and the name of the divinity is written in Greek. Now, I did Latin for like 7 years. I didn't do Greek because I was not offered at my school. Some of them I can easily recognize, like this is Artemis, but some of them are not. I don't speak Greek, so I have to refer to the guidebook, which is okay, but I wish the tarot name of the card, like the Hangman, was written on the card already. That would help me instead of just saying 12, although this is obviously the Hangman. When you have a lot of those cards next to each other, it becomes a little bit blurry. On top of that, the numbers are hard to find. Sometimes you're looking at it, like this is the Wheel of Fortune, that's fine. But sometimes you're looking at it and you're like, where is the number? I don't see the number. I can't find. For the Major Arcana, it's still okay. But when we get to the minors, that is when I'm finding some issue. Here you have the symbol for swords, and here you have the number. So this is the Ace of Swords. And again, it's not that problematic. You can find the number and the symbol here to help you, and here obviously it does look like the Two of Swords from the RWS. So, you know, re-flipping through it now, I'm thinking I can definitely make this work, and I know I want to make this work because I know this deck has something to teach me. I feel it in my gut. I just didn't feel like when I received it was the time for it. You guys ever had that, like you order a deck and finally when you get it, it's like you feel like you know why you got it because you know it needs to teach you something, but right now is not the moment because I didn't give it a proper chance, and I know I'm gonna feel called to use it more, and I think that will happen in the summer. Right now here where I live, we are in winter and I feel the sun burning my face. It's what links me to that kind of mythology, so I know when it's gonna be summertime here, I will feel pulled again to work with this deck. So for now, it's having a little sleep in the box. Looking at it again now, see, I don't feel so down about it than I did when I first received it. So it's a good sign that there's something stirring within me that is soon ready to work with it. And I know some of you had suggested to write the name of the tarot card. I think someone said that they had done it in like silver or gold marker, which sounds like a brilliant idea, and I think I might do that, to be honest. So we shall see if after this summer I find that I don't resonate with it, then I will rehome it. Very quickly, here are two little decks that were added to my collection, sent to my lovely mom, who found them in the little bookshop when she was doing some shopping, and she bought them for me, because usually when she sees something tarot oracle, she's such a sweetheart, and she picks it up for me as little presents. So they are French oracle cards that you can color in. I have a flower version, and I have a tree version. And from what she said, they were very affordable. I don't know if there's a price on here. Yeah, €7.95, so €8. They're like color yourself oracle cards. And so what's really cool about them is that they have the same backs. So you could pick, I think they have an angel one as well, like this. They have an everyday type oracle. They have a few themes. She got trees and flowers because she knows I like nature, but they all have the same backings, like from what I've seen. So that's really cool, because if you wanted to, once you've colored all of them in, you could make a mega deck. What's also really cool is that a lot of the color yourself oracle I've seen, they don't have guidebooks. This one does. Obviously it's all in French, but it's easy to translate, especially if you're familiar with trees and flowers. For each of the cards, you get the name of the, in this case, tree. So here we have the oak, and you have a few words like keywords, and you have a little sentence. So here it says the oak symbolizes strength, longevity, and power. Traditionally, it is considered as the tree of life. Its structure is solid despite the heaviness of the tradition it is carrying. So that's great. Like, I can actually use this deck for divination because it gives me some keywords, it gives me some information, and the same for every single tree or every single flower, depending on the one you pick. So here we have the flower one, and here we have the tree one. Started by doing the tree coloring, and first off, before we get any further, I want to give a trigger warning for anyone who gets offended by poor attempts at coloring. You're not gonna like this, so skip forward. You're gonna get offended because I'm very shit at coloring, okay? And it's actually really hard for me. So like I said, I've started doing the tree one. I've not gone very far because, let me explain. It's very hard for me to color. I have a lot of, like I was saying, I navigate the waters of chronic pain, chronic illness, and my shoulders and my back, my ribs, etc. They're very unstable. So for me to sit up and color in, it's actually a form of like re-education, like physical therapy, because it hurts very quickly, because my shoulders, they're very like sore, and so it's something that I have to take my time with, but it's also kind of like part of my physical therapy. It's part of strengthening my shoulders, strengthening my back, etc. So I am excited to continue using this, and this is part of why my mom got this for me, because she knew that coloring in can be something I do a little bit as part of my re-education, like physical therapy work, etc., which I still have so much to do since I got sick. I go to physical therapy a lot. It's very much it's the main part of my life right now, and so this can be like a little parenthesis in my life, but that still can help me get a little bit stronger and help my body get a little bit stronger, etc. So as you can see, for each of the cards, you get the name of the flower or the tree, and you get to color it as you want. What I like is that there's space at the bottom here, so if you wanted to, you could put the keyword that for you represents the most. For example, here, the baobab. Like I said, this is a French deck, but I truly believe that any one of you could enjoy it, because most of you who are into plants, you probably could recognize them or trees by looking at them, or you could even write the translation of that flower right here. So happy that there are flowers that are more local to me, like the hibiscus, for example, or the baobab that we just looked. Those are the kind of plants that I work with, because in my tropical climate, this is what I see the most. So in the last 3 months, I also received this particular bundle order that I made with 2 decks from Destiny. We have the Cookie Story Tarot and we have the Shuffle Tarot. They're both by the same indie company, so they're both indie decks. This particular company is called Destiny. They are based in Thailand, and you can find their decks on Etsy, but the shipping to where I live is very expensive. And so I was very happy when I found that there is someone on Instagram called Aura Clinzel. I will put the link to her Instagram below, who organizes group buys from this particular company to France. She's based in France. And when you go through her, because she organizes group buys, I'd say very regularly, like every 2-3 months, you can purchase Destiny decks for much cheaper than you could if you were to go through their Etsy shops. Like, I've saved about 50 euro shipping, which is a lot. Réunion Island is part of France. It's a French department. So even though I live on the very bottom of Africa near Madagascar, we're still part of Europe because we're part of France. So even that in terms of shipping counts. And like I said, it allowed me to save a lot. Let's start with the Cookie Story Tarot. Like I said, it's a indie deck. You would have seen it in my cute, adorable tarot decks video, so I won't go too much into it, even though it's fairly recent to my collection in the sense that I had it in the 3 months ago. I've already shown it a lot on my channel. I've already used it a lot. This one is becoming a firm favorite for 2022. Definitely one of my top purchases of the year, because it is just so darn cute. This is set up, as the name suggests, Cookie Story Tarot. All the characters are little cookie people, so, like little gingerman figures. In this cookie world full of sweets, treats, ice creams, cakes, and they're living their best life, being cookie people. What is even more cool about this deck is that there are some heavy influences from pop culture, which I love. I love anything pop culture related. I find it super fun. I love traditional decks. I love everything, which is probably a problem for my bank account. That's my issue. I love way too many different things, but I really love things that are modern as well, that refer pop culture. And this one is full of it. There are a lot of hints of movies and animation characters that I've not recognized yet, but there are a lot of them that I have recognized. So I'm working my way through. Like, for example, here we have Tinkerbell from Peter Pan. Here for the Four of Swords we have Sleeping Beauty and Maleficent, Frozen, for example, the Disney movie. And yet, as you can see, it follows the RWS, so it's super easy to read. It is full of color, it is super cute, and it's just full of vibrancy and emotions. And this deck just makes me super happy. This was another one in my good mood decks because I can't use this deck and be sad. It just brings so much joy. So I've been loving this one, and even though it's fairly recent, it's already been put to a lot of use. The other deck I got in the same packaged in the same orders that I made through Aura Clientèle, like I was saying, through the group buys, is the Shuffle Tarot Collection B. This is a very cool concept, and I was so excited when I could finally get this deck because I've been wanting it for so long. I think they originally came out with this in 2020, and I was so happy to finally be able to get my hands on it because it's a really unique concept. So why is this called Collection B? They have two, Destiny have made two Shuffle Tarots. There's an A and a B, and they both are completely different. They both completely change the RWS, but the images are very different. So I would highly recommend, if you're thinking of getting one, to watch. There's a lot of walkthroughs online where people compare A and B. I took my time, I decided which one I preferred, and I went for this particular one, but I really do recommend that you watch walkthroughs to compare. Again, you still get those title cards, you still get a squirrel card, which is cute, and you get a guidebook. So the guidebook is in Thai and in English. So why is this called the Shuffle Tarot? It's because the characters from the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith have been shuffled along, and they're not sitting in the same cards that you would expect them to. So for example, the Magician is now inhabited by the character of the High Priestess, and for the High Priestess we have the Sun, the little boy from the sun living his best life. So why did I want this deck so badly? Because to me it is extremely ingenious. First, it's something that we've never seen before. It's extremely creative. I love things that are different, original and unique because they make my tarot practice fun, they excite me, they push me outside of my comfort zone, and I love that so much. Why also did I want that is because originally you could think it's a little bit gimmicky. For example, for the Hierophant, we have the Emperor sitting here. You could think, well, that's just, I can still read it as a Hierophant. It's just a different figure sitting on it. But it's a lot more deep than that, because the Hierophant is the Emperor. We have the person from the Emperor sitting there. And on the Emperor seat, we can see that the Emperor decided to leave all of his stuff here. We do have the Sphinxes from the Chariot card, originally. But it means, if you look at it closely, that the Emperor decided to leave this very full of responsibility, commanding, very authoritative figure of having to tell people what to do and build this empire, to pursue a more spiritual kind of life, to pursue a life that is more aligned with maybe a higher purpose. And that already makes me look at the Emperor and the Hierophant in a different light. And so the way you can read this deck is so ingenious, different, and it will really very much trigger your intuition. It will push you outside of your comfort zone for sure, because it's so different to what we're used to seeing. And you're gonna get a lot of different new versions, new layers of each of the tarot cards that I think really make this deck not a gimmick. On the Strength card, we see here the Empress, we see one, and then we see two characters from the Wheel of Fortune, for example. There's a lot there because it could be, you could read the Strength with a layer of the meaning of the Empress and a layer of the meaning of the Wheel of Fortune. It brings like so many layers, like a delicious cake, that I find very interesting. For example, for the Hermit, we see the character from the Chariot that is away from his chariot, and he's literally, he looks battle wounded, so he had to give up his chariot, he had to go by foot, and he was defeated, and now he's having to think about, through this Hermit card, about why did he fail? Where did he go wrong? Maybe he was going too full force at being a chariot. Maybe he was going so fast he didn't think, and he didn't think of the consequences. He didn't see defeat coming, and now he's having to work on his introspection, to be a bit wiser, to look a bit more within. And I find that it really changes the way I look at the cards. So for the Hangman we have Temperance. It changes the way that I read the cards, and I'm having so much fun with this deck right now. I have put it back in order because what I want to do is, for each card I want to do myself a little guidebook where I want to write a couple of sentences that corresponds to this particular energy. This might be one of my favorite cards. The Devil is now inhabited by the Fool and his dog. That's what I want to do. I want to write myself a little guidebook For each card, I want to write a little sentence of what it makes me think of. For the minors are also shuffled, because even though for the wands you will see wands, you will see characters that normally inhabit other suits, and that will fuck up your readings as well, in the best way possible. The Two of Wands is represented by people that are normally on the Two of Cups. So how do you read that? Again, the Three of Wands is more indicated of the Three of Cups. We have 3 people here. So how do you read that? Five of Wands is Five of Swords, normally, but this time it's Wands. Six of Wands is very much represented in the same way as the Six of Swords, except we still have the wreath. And so how do you read that as a tarot reader? How do you extend your knowledge? How do you push your boundaries? Because we have those meanings that we know very well, that have been passed down to us by generations. But I find so much pleasure in imploding those meanings, sometimes bursting out of it as a way to get freedom. And even though I love, like I said, I love traditional decks, I think there is so much power in freeing ourselves from boxes we might have put ourselves in. Personally, anyway, I find a lot of joy in that. Is this a deck I would feel comfortable reading for others right now? No, I'm still like trying to get acquainted with it, trying to see everything it has to tell me, because it's so different to what I'm used to, so it's really pushing my boundaries. And yet I'm so excited to do this little guidebook, like I said, and then once I will feel a lot more comfortable using it, I can't wait to do tarot readings with this, so be expected to see it on my channel at some point. I'm so grateful that this exists. Let's move on to a mass market tarot deck called the Voice of Tarot Vox Arcana, and this is a Los Scarabeo deck. This was a book depository order I made last year when it came out. It's just one of those that's been traveling in the international waters multiverse for a while before it got to me. So as you can see, you have a guidebook here. If you're familiar with the Los Scarabeo guidebooks, they are in different languages. You get 2 extra cards with this deck, which are reversible, like they're printed on both sides for the element earth, water, air, and fire. And this is a collective deck. I've mentioned this in my most recent underrated tarot deck mass market video, so I will link it somewhere, where I share with you all of my, in my opinion, hidden gems mass market tarot decks that you can find in your local bookshop, book depository, Amazon, etc., that don't cost your right kidney and that are not being shown that much on social media or tarot readings or YouTube, etc., but that are actually very good. And this was part of that. I'm using it for July, August, and it's been wonderful. So the particularity of this deck is that it's collective artwork, meaning that a different artist did every single card. So that normally puts me right off. Normally, let me try and do it this way so you can maybe enjoy more all the different art style. So normally when I see collective decks, I run away, because I have never bonded with a deck that was made from different artists. I've tried and it never worked for me. This is like literally the exception that confirms that rule. I don't know why it works, but it does, because even though there is clearly a different artist that's depicting every single card, the theme is still very fantasy overall. I think you can tell that this is not trying to be looking like day-to-day life. On top of that, the intent behind it is very clear. The fact that it's called the Vox Arcana Tarot, they explain it in the guidebook that they approach this by thinking of different artists doing a card as different instruments coming together in an orchestra. And this is why it's called the Vox Arcana, the voice of the arcana, like the voice of tarot. Because it's like an orchestra full of different voices, full of different people coming together to create something. And for some reason, it truly works. I think because they had all this intent of coming together as one big collective voice, art style doesn't take away from your ability to read the deck as something very cohesive. And I am so relieved and I'm so happy that this deck is really a great reader, because I wanted to be able to enjoy a collective deck. I really did. And now I'm so glad I found one that works for me. I adore so many of these cards. Like, there's really not many cards I don't like. Most of the artwork I find so beautiful. Like, look at this. This is beautiful. And you wouldn't necessarily think it's jarring. I find it not jarring anyway, the art style together. This has been truly a valued addition to my tarot library. Here are the backs, by the way. I don't know if I showed it to you. On to a couple of more recent purchases. I feel like everything I've showed you so far are things that I had ordered ages ago that just took ages to come, or they were gifts. Now let's talk about things that I actually bought recently. Very random. The story of why I got this and the next one I'm gonna show you is because I went into the bookshop when I was sad and I decided to buy myself a couple of things. We can all relate, right? Don't judge me. I'm sure we've all done it. You feel sad, so you go into the bookshop and you buy some things. Couple of things. Like, it's okay. Nobody's gonna judge. And if you're judging, I don't care. In the infamous words of Jinx Monsoon, it's water off a duck's back. So as you can see, this is called Le Tarot Grunge. It's the French edition of a deck that's called the Grunge Tarot. So you can find this in English. I don't think the box and stuff is going to be similar because they're completely different publishers, but the artwork is the same. In the French version, it's extra. We get this. Inside here you get a very chunky guidebook, full color, that looks like this, where for each of the cards you get a message, you get upward and reversed keywords. Really cool guidebook. I really enjoy it because it actually tells you why they chose to depict each card like this. There's like, it's not just your stereotypical Two of Cups is love. It's no, why did we depict the Two of Cups this way? What is the inspiration, potential musical inspiration? Because of course Le Tarot Grunge, the Grunge Tarot, is inspired by music. And so inside that box we have now a tuck box where the cards live. So the French publishers really went all in. And like I said, this is such a random buy because I had never seen this deck before I bought it. I didn't even know that it existed. And normally that is a huge no for me, to buy something unseen. It happens very rarely. Here are the backs. Very rarely do I buy something without having watched a flick through of the cards, because I don't like to waste my money. So I don't want to buy something that there could be a risk of me not enjoying. That's why I love channels who do walkthroughs of decks and who are dedicated to showing you every deck that come out. They do a flip through, they do a walkthrough, because it does really help me to make conscious decisions as to why I want to buy a deck or not. Very, very rarely do I buy a deck without doing some research on it a little bit. But this, it was a pure instinct decision. Got in this bookshop, I saw this deck and another one. I was feeling low. I was like, I'm just gonna treat myself and buy something. And that's okay, because you know what? It was actually a great purchase, and I'm so happy because I'm really enjoying this deck right now. I'm using it in the month of August and it's such a joy and I'm loving it so much. The Grunge Tarot is inspired by grunge music. Music from the 90s, Pearl Jam and all of that. As you can see, it is super colorful, but the color palette is very unique. It's like pistachio green, it's like pink salmon and this strange turquoise. The colors are very unique. The backs are so kooky and crazy, and I love that. I love things that are a little bit different and things that are colorful and things that are very unique. Why did I pick this unseen? Is because I knew it was inspired by music from the title and from reading the back, and I really enjoy music. When I was younger, when I was in my early 20s, I did some internships in some major record labels as part of like my career and stuff in London, and I was super broke. I was living in London, I was getting paid in CDs and concert tickets, and it was a great experience to work for those huge record labels for a little bit. After a while I had to leave because, you know, a girl needs to eat. But for the short period of time I was there, I was getting paid in vinyls and it was full of kooky, quirky characters. And it really reminded me of this period of my life, even though I know this is inspired by 90s, but being in the music industry, it reminds me of this period of my life where I was very much surrounded by people who live, breathe, and love and sleep music. it's hardcore, and it was inspiring, and it was creative. So music has always been a huge part of my life. On top of that, it's been a great reader. I've enjoyed it so much. It's very kooky, very different, and even though it is inspired by the RWS, it totally does its own thing. Like the star is just this lady riding a fat ass cat, and I'm so here for that. The high priestess has double boobs. Again, she's standing against something on fire, being like a beacon of rebellion and force. And again, I'm so here for this. So this deck is very rebellious. It's very cheeky, easy to read, even though it does its own thing. So pentacles are represented by vinyls. I forgot to say, so in the guidebooks, obviously this is inspired by a particular musical inspired by grunge music. So for the minors in the guidebook, you get to see all the songs that inspired people to create this deck, like the actual grunge songs that inspired each card. And I love that because it means that you can listen to the songs online. And I even saw someone on YouTube who did a playlist for the grunge tarot, which is so cool. Like whoever did that, thank you so much, because you can go online, you can type grunge tarot on YouTube, and you find someone who made the playlist of all the songs that relate to the cards. That's awesome. I love that so much. So overall, this deck has been truly a joy. I'll talk about it even more, I think, in my August favorites, because I've been using it all months of August so far, so it's definitely going to show up in my August favorites. The same day I bought the grunge tarot, I told you I was feeling down. I was very flared up. I had been stuck in bed for 10 days. I had not left the house for 10 days because I was having a huge flare-up, major like health setback. It was shite. So I decided to treat myself for coming through it. Give myself some life juice. I really needed it. So I picked up l'Oracle des Sisters Astro, and that's another French mass market deck. This time it's an oracle. I'm sure you can tell. There's a big oracle on the box. Marine, you're really helping people out there. Like, thank you, Captain Obvious. Open the box. Here you have the cards. Here you have a little pouch, and you have a guidebook. This is a very unique oracle deck. So the guidebook, I'll show it to you quickly. For each of the cards you get messages and like either a quote or a journaling prompt, something like that. This is very unique. I've never seen a deck like this. It's created by the Instagram account Sister Astro. If you don't know them, I invite you to check them out. They are French, obviously, but I've never seen anything. And again, this is another one I bought, didn't know shit about it. Afterwards I did my research, obviously. But I bought it on a whim. I bought it unseen, and I'm so happy. I've been using it non-stop. Again, it's a huge firm favorite for this month, and I'm so glad I trusted my instinct. So it just shows sometimes you just have to listen to what the urge is telling you to do. So super simple oracle deck. For each card you get those really funky colors background, which I love. If you watch my Instagram stories, you know I use those kind of background all the time. And you get a sentence either in French or in English, and then in the guidebook you get bigger messages. They are wonderful. The ultimate underrated oracle deck, I think. I need to make an underrated oracle deck video updated, and this is part of it, because it's just punchy, it's just straight to the point. So like I said, some of the sayings are in English, some of them are in French, but it's just one sentence, so it's super easy to translate, I think. Empathy is the key. Some of them are just symbols. Here it says, if you never go for it, you'll never know. Failures doesn't exist. Supermoon, everything you can imagine is real. The courage of being yourself. Be proud of yourself. Let go. Well, that's in English. You guys understand that? Not me trying to translate you English in English. Oh my god. I need to go lie down, guys. I'm losing it. This is saying what doesn't have secrets, doesn't have charm. So as you can see, I find it super 70s. This is like, aesthetic wise, it's everything I love. Super 70s, super thin. I'm warning you, the cardstock is really shite. It's super thin, it's very flimsy, the edging is not that great. I mean, it's gold, but I feel like it's the kind of gold that will chip. The backs, they're not my favorite, but I don't know why, it's brilliant. Like, I don't know why it works. The messages are in guidebook are really good. Like I told you, they're easy to translate. They just are exactly like what you need to hear if you're into personal empowerment, personal development, introspection. There's 50 cards though, so that's good, and it retails for 25 euros. And like I said, Sister Astro is actually an Instagram account that I think they're both Californian and French. So that's probably why some of the cards are both in English and in French. Okay, let's wrap it up. I have 2 more decks to show you that were part of one order. I pre-ordered the Boo Tarot and from Celia Melsville, and at the same time I bought the Sweet Ladies Oracle by also Celia Melsville. Celia is an indie deck creator, she's French, but I know a lot of you know her because she just creates wonderful decks, and I see her decks a lot on TarotTube. The reason why I made the order from Celia is because I wanted to pre-order the Boo Tarot. I've literally received it like 2 days ago, so I've not had a chance yet to use it. And my copy took a long time to ship. I know it's the same story, you're probably bored of me telling you, but that's why I've seen so many people already with their copy. It's just it took a little bit longer to cross the oceans to me. The guidebook, I find that it's super cool. That's what Celia does, is that has one side it's French and the other side it's in English. Celia does a lot of wonderful decks. Highly recommend if you don't know her work. She's a very prolific creator. It's so cute. So the Boo Tarot, as the name suggests, is a ghost-inspired tarot deck, and I find it absolutely adorable. First off, look on the major arcana. There's this special type of layer on each of the ghosts, just for the majors, that have little sparkles, which are so cute. I knew Celia was working on this for like about a year, and as soon as she posted the first cards on Instagram, I was like, yes, sign me up, take my money, add to cart, please. I want to buy. So I've been following her progress on Instagram, and when finally the pre-order was available, I think end of last year, I jumped on it and finally received it, and it's so wonderful. It's an RWS inspired deck full of little ghosts, and like I said, I've literally just had it for 2 days, so I've not had a chance yet to use it, but I'm just super excited about it because I find those little ghosts, I feel like they're gonna be very mischievous. Like I say that when we're flipping through the tower. I think this deck is gonna be very mischievous, very facetious. I can feel it in the energy, and I can feel those little ghosts are gonna read me to filth. I can tell already. I don't know why. Obviously I'll have to give it a go and read it, but I think this could be a great to work with your shadow or work with your own inner ghost. Like, what are you hiding from yourself? What are you not willing to look at from your past? Where have you been ignoring that the ghosts in your life's closet that you have been trying to not look at? Can you work with them and invite them in and bring them to the light and work with them and see what they have to say? I think that's how I will use this deck. Either that, or Asoke could be great for spirit work as well, and maybe speaking with your ancestors or the people that have come with before you, or doing some kind of like spirit communication, because they're ghosts, meaning they're used to be living people, right? So there's many ways you can look at this. Of course, this could just be, for some people, a very cute inner child deck as well. Depends on who you are, your lived experience, what you resonate with. For me, holding the deck, looking at it, I feel this facetious energy of, I'm gonna make you look at what you don't want to look at, but I'm gonna do it in a gentle, loving way, with a bit of a side of humor, I think. Some of the cards are really emotional and really a lot darker, like this 8 and 9 of Swords. They're not joking compared to a lot, some of the cards that are just really cute and adorable. So this is why I think this deck has a lot of depth, maybe more so than meets the eye, and I'm super excited to give it a go and work with it. Just a quick public service announcement, because I know her decks are so popular. Before that, she released, I think last year she did, a fox themed tarot that I know a lot of people have, that is called Tarot Renard. And I see so many people say Tarot Renard in English, because obviously you probably wouldn't know, but the D is silent in Renard. The way you say fox in French is Renard, so it's Tarot Renard. You don't pronounce the D. Just public service announcement for anyone who has the deck. That's how you say it. The D is silent in that one. Celia, I also wanted to get the Sweet Ladies Oracle. which has been out for a couple of years, I think. This has been out, or maybe even 2019. It's been a while. It's been on my wish list for so long. Because I was pre-ordering the Bootaro, I was like, let me get it at the same time. I might as well. It's been on my wish list for ages. Pamphlets and extra pamphlets for keywords, and then you get another guidebook that is both in French and in English, so that's awesome. The way that this deck is built and created is so wonderful. So this is a deck that reuses pre-existing classical artwork. Look at the backs already. I mean, so cute. And this is my grandma deck, because my grandma would have loved this deck. I know she would have. I still have one living grandma in France, but my other grandma, who also lived in France, she passed during the pandemic, and I was not able to go see her just before that because I myself was very sick, and obviously with the panini and everything we couldn't travel anyway, but I wasn't even physically able to. This deck, it's like she would have loved it because her house was full of objects that very much resonated with that particular aesthetic. And so for me, this is very grandmother energy, this deck. And it's very ancestors energy, things that I would see in my, like I said, at my grandmother's or at my grandmother's sisters, so my great aunties, is that how you call it, or my grandmother's friends. You know, like there would be a lot of paintings or books or teacups or things like that that would be very much that vibe. And so with this deck, I truly feel like I can tap into ancestor energy, very European part of me. This is not Celia's artwork. She just repurposed artwork that was pre-existing. She cleaned it up, she assigned a number, and then she gave it a meaning. But there's no keywords on the card. And why I love this so much is that it allows you can read the guidebook, of course, and the guidebook is wonderful, but it allows you to go with your intuition. So when you read the deck, which is how I've been using it, you can put 3 cards together and it tells you a story. And what I love about this is that it doesn't just depict rich people. There are here women, it's mostly women, it's called the Sweet Ladies Oracle, which is another thing that, you know, is just lovely for me for this like grandmother energy. Some of those women are seamstresses, some of them sell chickens, some of them are rich, and some of them are poor. I adore that. I feel like it's showing all the different sides of women's life in those particular eras. Obviously, it's beautiful to look at. The cardstock is this beautiful rose petal finish. It feels so luxurious to use. But it's, for me, the fact that there's no keywords, that I can read this completely intuitively. It's so freeing, and I love oracle decks that have no keywords, because I get to read them how I want. I get to interpret them my way, and it gives me so much freedom, so much to work with, and it's wonderful. So I love using Dixit card, as you know. I need to do a video on that. I love using soul cards. Like I said, I've only had this for 2 days, but this one, I've been using it non-stop for the last 2 days, and I can tell you it reads really well already. I've even done a little reading for my mom, and it was beautiful. It was really beautiful. It's still fresh first impression, of course, but from the few readings I've done already, I feel like it's giving me a lot of freedom, and I feel like it's gonna be a firm favorite, this one. I'm just so excited to continue using it. This is one of my favorite cards. I love this one. It's giving me 2 of Wands vibes. Some of the proceeds go to charities that are trying to support women, women's rights, and women in difficult situations. So I also really appreciate that Celia is doing that. So my friends, this is it. These are all the decks I got in the last 3 months. Some of them I ordered ages ago, they finally received. Some of them I bought more recently. I feel like the theme is pushing me outside my comfort zone. Now that I look at all of them, most of them push me outside my comfort zone in some way. So I obviously needed a little bit of a kick up the butt at this moment in time, maybe. We shall see. But I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments what decks you decided to add to your collection or remove. Know what you've been up to, what decks you've been using. I love to chat with you in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. It does really help my channel out. And if you made it all the way to here, then you can leave me a little feather comment, because we've had a little feather friend here. So if you've managed to make it to the end of the video, leave me a little feather emoji in the comments. I will really appreciate it. So thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate you. And until my next video, I'm sending you so much good vibes and keep navigating the waves of your soul. Bye!